What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop, and as I'm sure you probably know by now, today was the day of Nintendo's E3 2019 Direct presentation. And even though for the most part it featured things unrelated to Pokemon, like the announcement of a Breath of the Wild sequel, holy crap, it looks amazing, there were some Sword and Shield details that were specified, and they were actually interesting enough that I felt like I wanted to talk about them in a video. So in today's video, I'm going to go over all of the new details that we learned about Sword and Shield from the E3 Direct, and basically give you everything that you're going to want to know about the game. Today's video is going to be pretty chill. I'm just going to be talking about the new details, my thoughts on them, and have gameplay running in the background, so it's going to be pretty kind of nice and easy, but hopefully you will enjoy it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first new thing that was shown off in the Direct was actually the introduction of a new gym leader, and that would be the water-type gym leader, Nessa. Now, aside from the fact that this girl is absolutely waifu material, and there's definitely going to be some fan art made of her if you know what I'm saying, the other interesting thing that we can infer about her is that she is most likely the second gym leader that we will face. This is because not only is she the second gym leader we have been introduced to overall after Milo, but in some screenshots featuring a battle with Nessa on the Pokemon Sword and Shield website, you can see the levels of the Pokemon that are very much in that second gym leader range where they're in the early 20s. So most likely this is the case that she is the second gym leader, which is definitely interesting to take note of. Next up, we actually have something that I just barely learned about while recording this video, so I'm going to have to kind of interject it here, but at E3 in the Pokemon Sword and Shield demo that is available to people attending the event itself, we actually got the reveal of two new Pokemon. We have what seems to be a corgi-like dog Pokemon named Yamper, which coincides with some of the leaks we've been hearing about. Not going to go into it, but definitely seems that that leak is real at this point. And then we got another unusual looking Pokemon that is called Impidimp. I will be showing the stills of these Pokemon on screen. We don't have any official art or announcements because we only have information from the demo itself, but from my initial impressions from these off-screen screenshots, they definitely look interesting. The corgi Pokemon Yamper looks interesting, Impidimp obviously unusual. I am going to reserve my judgment until I can see like direct feed gameplay and official artwork, but definitely exciting to say the least. Moving on from that though, we actually got introduced to this game's communication feature similar to the PSS from X and Y or the Festival Plaza from Sun and Moon, and that comes in the form of the YCOM. Now, it looks like that the way that the YCOM works is throughout your adventure, and particularly in the wild area, you will have various stamps appear on your screen of people who are basically wanting to battle, trade, or participate in a raid battle with you. And from there, you can easily access those trades, those battles, and those raid battles. So it definitely looks like it's a very streamlined approach compared to the Festival Plaza, which is definitely nice to see. But the thing that caught my attention is that it actually looks like that there's some elements of MMO gameplay with this feature, particularly in the wild area. This is because during the gameplay session in the Nintendo Treehouse, it was shown off that people who are playing nearby you can actually be seen in real time in your game, and you can actually interact with them, and you can get different things like items from them as well as trade and battle with them. Once again, this was shown off in the gameplay demo where Masuda, who was also playing on a separate Nintendo Switch system nearby, was able to directly approach the person who was playing in the main gameplay in their game, and you could actually see Masuda's character walking around in the overworld in real time. So if we're going to have this kind of MMO style gameplay, even if it is kind of restricted to the local area, because we're not sure if this is extended to obviously friends and the online like world, if you will, that is still absolutely incredible, because having that kind of like live real-time interconnectivity with other players where you can see them in your version of the game, in your world, is absolutely incredible, and I am super excited to learn more about that because it looks amazing. We also learned some new information about Dynamax Pokemon, particularly the raid battles with them, and they actually look insanely challenging, and I am really impressed by the amount of challenge and difficulty that it looks like these Dynamax Pokemon are going to present in battles with them. Now, we really only saw these new details in the form of raid battles, so we don't really know if this extends to the gym battle versions of the Dynamax Pokemon, but what we did learn is that the raid version of Dynamax Pokemon, at the very least, can actually do a number of different things that make it extremely challenging to defeat them. Number one, they can actually use multiple moves in one turn, which is obviously extremely unfair, and on top of that, they can also do things like neutralize the ability of your team that's going against them, and they can also reset any stat changes that have happened during the entire battle, which, needless to say, is going to make them extremely difficult to defeat, and you're definitely going to have to strategize with your teammates if you want to take down these Pokemon. Also, as the Dynamax Pokemon loses health, it will actually gain a protective barrier around it at some point in the battle that will need to be broken in order to continue to do damage to it, which effectively makes it invincible for a number of turns, which will allow it to obviously do damage to you and set up different moves, which, needless to say, is incredibly broken and is going to be incredibly challenging to defeat these Pokemon, which honestly, in my opinion, is going to make it all the more fun and is going to incentivize me to actually take on some of these raid battles because of how challenging it's actually going to be. Another interesting thing about these battles from the player perspective is that if you get knocked out of the battle and your Pokemon faints, you are actually still a part of the battle and can still affect it by doing things like cheering on your teammates, which will have effect on your teammates' Pokemon, and it can do things like restoring their HP and different things like that. So even if you yourself get knocked out of the battle and your Pokemon faints, you can actually still have an effect on the battle overall, which is really nice and keeps you in the game, so that's really refreshing to know. We do also know that once you defeat these Pokemon, you will have the opportunity to catch them, but the interesting thing that was further specified about this in the direct and on the website is the fact that you will only have one attempt to catch them after you defeat them. So if you throw that first Pokeball and they escape from it, you're basically out of luck, it looks like, which obviously further adds to the challenge of these Pokemon, and I think it's going to make them a lot of fun to challenge throughout your adventure. And on top of that, something that a lot of people were wondering about that has been confirmed via the website is that not only will you be able to catch the Pokemon, but you can also earn valuable items by taking on these max raid battles, which definitely adds an extra layer of incentive to this, which I think is really cool. Moving on though, the next new detail that we learned about these games that's actually a little bit disappointing is the fact that apparently you can only transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Home, which is the new Pokemon Bank service, to Pokemon Sword and Shield if they appear in the Galar region Pokedex, which effectively confirms that not every single Pokemon is going to appear in this game. Now granted, we're talking about the Galar region Pokedex here as opposed to the National Pokedex, but in Sun and Moon, the prior games in the main series, we didn't even have a national Pokedex, so this definitely has me concerned whether or not every single Pokemon is going to be catchable in this game, and if we are going to have a national Pokedex at all. I really hope we are, but based on this statement that was made by Masuda during the Nintendo Treehouse gameplay presentation, it does not sound like every single Pokemon is going to be in the game, because he specifically mentioned that only Pokemon in the Galar region Pokedex will be able to be transferred from Pokemon Home, and then he went on to talk about how they made the selection process in terms of like talking about which Pokemon they decided were going to be in the game. So it does not look like every single Pokemon is going to appear, which is a bummer, but I will say at the same time, it looks like there is an incredible variety and an incredible amount of Pokemon already, so even if not every single Pokemon will be catchable in these games or will appear in these games, it does look like we're going to have a lot to choose from at the same time. So, I mean, on the one hand, I'm disappointed, but on the other hand, I feel like they still will give us a very wide variety of Pokemon to catch, so we're ultimately going to have to wait and see for further details on how this shakes out, but yeah, like I said, a little disappointing. Next up is a detail that is honestly a smaller one, but it's one that I have talked about in the past as one that I really want, so I had to mention it here, and that is the fact that it looks like that there is going to be Pro Controller support in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, admittedly, I wasn't paying too much attention to this during the actual gameplay session, but towards the end of that segment, you could see a Pro Controller amongst all of the Nintendo Switches and different controllers that were available on the setup for the presentation of the game, which I'm pretty sure confirms that we are going to be able to use Pro Controllers when playing the game, which is honestly so exciting to me because that was something that was really disappointing from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the fact that you could not use a Pro Controller and had to use a single Joy-Con. So the fact that we're going to be able to use an actual legit controller in this game, and basically what is the best controller that the Switch offers, is super exciting to me, even if it's a small detail, so I wanted to mention it in the video. Moving on though, the next detail we're going to talk about is actually a really interesting one, and that's the fact that it seems like that there's actually no level cap on the wild Pokemon that you can find in the wild area, meaning that you can actually run into Pokemon that are way stronger than you are at any given point in the game. On the Sword and Shield website, it specifies that there are indeed very strong Pokemon in the wild area that you won't even be able to throw a Pokeball at when you first start your adventure, and it was also shown during the Treehouse Live presentation that there are Pokemon you can run into even at a very early point in the game that are a way higher level than you are, so it does not seem like we will have the normal leveling structure in terms of wild Pokemon in the wild area, and you can very easily stumble upon a very strong Pokemon that completely outclasses you at any given point in time, which I honestly think is amazing because it's just further adding to that kind of openness and seamlessness that this game is proving to have, and I really think it's cool that you can not only run into a number of different wild Pokemon, but you can also run into Pokemon that are way stronger than you are, because that's how it would really happen in the Pokemon world, and to not have that kind of restricting or limiting leveling structure that we've seen in every Pokemon game up to this point is really going to kind of be a breath of fresh air, and I think is going to provide for a really fun gameplay experience. Another new feature that was introduced that I think is absolutely amazing is new dynamic weather combos. It was mentioned on the Sword and Shield website that obviously there's going to be a variety of different weather in this game, which we already knew about, but the one thing we did not know is that it can actually affect in-game battles as well. Now this once again is standard for Pokemon, nothing new here, but the one thing that Sword and Shield brings into the equation is combining different weather elements. So for example, the website specifies that if a thunderstorm is going on, this will actually give you not only a rain weather effect, but it will also provide for an electric terrain as well, thereby combining different weather elements, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I personally think that this detail is fantastic because not only does it allow for a number of different gameplay possibilities in battle, I just think it also shows an attention to detail that is really nice and refreshing because, for instance, they could obviously get away with only having the rain weather effect in a thunderstorm, but the fact that they went that extra mile to also make it combine the electric terrain as well, I think is just really exciting and is going to provide a bunch of different exciting and dynamic and just fascinating gameplay experiences, and I personally cannot wait to see what different kinds of weather combinations we will see in the game. And last but not least is the fact that it was actually confirmed that the Pokeball Plus from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is going to be compatible with Sword and Shield. However, it's not going to be compatible in the same way because the Pokeball Plus will not be able to be used as a controller, but it will still allow you to take Pokemon with you on the go and obviously level them up and interact with them and different things like that. Even more interesting though is the fact that if you still have your Mew in your Pokeball Plus, or you're just buying a Pokeball Plus for the first time, you will actually be able to transfer the Mew inside the Pokeball Plus to Pokemon Sword and Shield. However, if you have already transferred your Mew from your Pokeball Plus to Let's Go, or you've done it on a separate file or something like that, then you will not be able to transfer the Mew. They basically stated on the website that there is strictly one Mew available per Pokeball Pokeball Plus, and if it has been used in any way, shape, or form, whether on Let's Go or another separate Sword and Shield file, you will not be able to transfer another Mew to Sword and Shield. So you're definitely going to want to be careful in terms of which game you give your Mew to, and even though this is cool that this is obviously going over and going to be compatible with Sword and Shield, I can definitely see people getting frustrated by it as well, because the entire concept of locking Mew behind this $50 paywall was just not a good idea in general. It's obviously going to create a lot of frustration in a lot of different ways, so on the one hand it's cool, but on the one hand I definitely can see people being frustrated by this as well. And there we have it, everybody. Those were all of the new details that were revealed about Pokemon Sword and Shield at E3 that you need to know. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, this one was kind of a doozy to record because my recording got corrupted halfway through. I had to re-record it, so I'm honestly pretty worn out at this point. But if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and let me know in the comments below which one of these new details you are most excited for. I'm personally pretty excited about the MMO aspect of the YCOM, as well as the fact that there is no level cap on the wild Pokemon in the wild area. I think that's really cool, and we of course can't forget about Nessa either. But once again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for way more Pokemon videos, way more Sword and Shield videos. I'll keep you guys up to date on anything new that happens, and then also obviously give you guys like theory videos, fact videos, just tons of Sword and Shield content is coming your way that you're definitely not going to want to miss. With that being said though, I will be back on Thursday for another video for our regularly scheduled programming, so be sure to tune in for that. Hit the notification bell if you haven't so you can be notified when it goes live, and with all that being said, I will see you guys in that video. I love you as always, and until the next one, I will smell you guys later.